Welcome to the Record Machine Show, a podcast featuring interviews from indie and renowned artists from all genres of music. Now, here's your host, James Michael Hollenstein.
This week, my guest is rock recording artist Rob Moss, a name punk fans will remember from his early days with Government Issue and Artificial Peace back in the early 80s. Over the last few years, Rob's been back in the studio writing, recording, and collaborating with some incredible artists on a series of split singles. One of those is his split with Eytan Mirsky featuring Good Hair Day and What Happened to the Rock and Roll. And now, Rob Moss and Skin Tight Skin are teaming up with the False Positives for another exciting release. The False Positives reimagined Rob's 2022 track A Rocket Ship to You from the album Now with More Rockets. They transformed it from a post-punk into a stripped-down garage rock burner. Meanwhile, Rob and Skin Tight Skin took on Caveman from the False Positives 2022 album Demos. They kept the raw, primitive beat but added glam energy, new lyrics, and a killer outro. On lead guitar, you'll hear Clive Wright, known for his work with Broken English and Cock Robin. Clive's based out of the Joshua Tree, and he also played on Rob's album, Records, lighting up what happened to the rock and roll with his unmistakable sound. We'll talk about Rob's creative process, his musical journey, and these new collaborations. But first, let's kick things off with Good Hair Day, written by Eytan Mirsky, but performed by Rob Moss and Skin Tight Skin.
Are turning around, feeling like I'm floating now, 10 feet off of the ground. Every care I've ever had has just fallen away. Nothing's gonna touch me, it's a good hair day. People stop and clap for me when I walk down the street. I can give the girl the eye and she'll fall at my feet. Life is such an easy game when you know how to play. There's nothing that I can't do on a good hair day. Good hair days, they don't come often. You gotta make it work for you. You gotta get down to it and do everything you want to do. Check out Soul's hair. They don't come often. You gotta make them work for you. You gotta get down to it and do everything you want to do. I could be the president, I could walk on the moon, I could play a symphony on a saw and a spoon. I got the strength of 50 men, so get out of my way. Nothing can defeat me, it's a good hair day. Nothing that I can't do, it's a good hair day. Nothing's gonna touch me, it's a good hair day. It's a good hair day. It's the only way to be. It's a good hair day. A good hair day, hair day.
That was Good Hair Day, performed by Rob Moss and Skin Tight Skin, and I'm thrilled to have him on the line for an interview. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. It's a beautiful day here in North Myrtle Beach. How about by where you are?
Today it's raining up in the Boston area, but that'll just be today. It'll be nice the rest of the week.
Yeah, has it cooled down a bit?
Yeah, we're into autumn. It's great.
Yeah, it's about 60 here and it's sunny out. But
Well.
yeah, I was looking at my catalog and The last time that we spoke on the air was in October of 2024 when you put out your last album. And like you said, you've released a couple of split singles since then. What do you think makes a split single successful? The chemistry between the artist, the promotional strategy, or something entirely different?
I think it's part of it. I think it's also, it really comes down to the songs. And do you really, because when we do split singles, we're not doing note for note covers. We're trying to make them something, really reimagine the song. I mean, I was thinking back to like music that I listened to as a kid, like Deep Purple did a lot of covers and they would make them sound very different. Vanilla Fudge, they did Diana Ross and the Supremes, You Keep Me Hanging On. Mm-hmm. And they totally made the song. I mean, it's not at all the Motown song. I mean, it is, but if you play them back to back, it's a completely different experience. But there's something about it that, it's not having a similar energy and feeling to the song, because part of it has to do with the lyrics, so that you're not really changing that, although sometimes we might alter a lyric here or there if it makes sense. But I always thought, what if Diana Ross did a version of a Vanilla Fudge song? Mm-hmm. That would be, why not? Or Joan Baez, one of the great, Judas Priest songs is, Diamonds and Rust, and a lot of people think, well, that's a Judas Priest song, but no, it's actually a Joan Baez song. Right. It's a folk song originally. But what if, Joan Baez, did You Got Another Thing Coming or Living After Midnight, and they turned it into a folk song. So that's part of the thing, is finding, two bands that, have some kind of chemistry, have some sort of eye to eye, but you're not necessarily the same type of band. I mean, that's sort of the way I've been working it. And then finding songs of each other's that kind of, okay, this one, what could I do with, this band's song and give it something unique to it. And sometimes that might just be playing it faster, or in some cases, adding an entirely new outro, or an intro and other parts. So that's sort of my take on it.
Yeah. The other day I was interviewing a guy named Andy Smith from the UK. He's residing in Australia now, and I was telling him about the split single, and he never heard of it. He didn't know what I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it was, early on, even in vinyl, like Discord put out, the Faith Void album, but in this case, it wasn't, they were doing basically it's one side of songs by the Faith, the other song is songs by Void, but just sort of for economic reasons, they put out an album. And instead of doing two EPs, it made more sense to release an album with two different bands, one on each side. And there's been there's been jazz records like that go way back to the 40s as well. And I think the first I've heard of was maybe the Chesterfield Kings and the Liars. Mm-hmm. They put out some 7-inch singles, I guess back in the 80s, where they would do a version of each other's song. And, the way I got into doing it, some friends in France, they have a band called Shake Some. Uh-huh. And, at one point, I don't know how we got on the subject, but I said, what if you guys do one of my songs? Because they record mostly singles. I don't think they've released any albums.
Right.
And I said, if you got time, I would love to hear what it sounds like. And they did. They took me up on it and turned it around pretty quickly. And then they challenged me, okay, we'll do one of our songs. And I hadn't thought of that. And it was only because, Jesse and Karen of Shake Some said, well, let's make this a real thing. And then we co-released it, each on our Bandcamp pages. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of where it took off. And now I've released 5 of these. Right. And more to come.
Yeah, it's a very cool concept. I mean, you hear people doing a cover of, somebody else's song, but to have two bands do a cover of each song and then release it on the same release, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really find it, part of it is, growing up, in the 70s, in bands, you would hear bands play, Ted Nugent covers or Leonard Skinner or what have you. Right. And they would try to make it sound as much like the original as they possibly could. But, honestly, that's so boring. And that's part of what got me into writing songs in the first place and playing in bands, back started in maybe like 79 and 1980. But, early 80s was really the point when I was really most active back then. And we said, no, we're not going to play covers. We're going to write originals and do it ourselves and release our own albums, sometimes totally with, independent labels, whether it was Discord or some others. Mm-hmm. We would go on tour, we'd go play CBGBs, get in the car, drive around, pull a U-Haul full of gear, crash at people's houses, often spend the night. Sometimes it would be someone's house and, the mom would do our laundry and they would feed us well, or other nights we'd arrive and it was literally like a squat. So it really varied. So to me, the whole idea of doing a split single is the chance to, take someone's song and honor it, but play it and come up with a new way of playing it, give it something different. And for me, it's a huge kick to hear someone take one of my songs and play it in a whole new way. I mean, that to me is just, really pretty incredible. I mean, the one, Eytan Mirsky, who I actually first met like in the mid 80s, he did a version. This is the second to last split single. He did a song off, he did What Happened to the Rock and Roll, but he turned the song from what was kind of, this sort of glam rock type song into something that's sort of this soul pop song. And it still has the same feel to it in terms of, what happened to the rock and roll about, with the state of the music from what we remember when we were kids. But he's completely changed the feel of the song in terms of, in terms of, going from, glam rock to a soul song. That's totally different genre, but it's the same song.
Right. When it comes to split singles, how do artists and labels typically handle things like royalties and marketing?
I don't know how they do it. The way that I'm doing it is we co-release all of these on our Bandcamp pages. If what sales do come in, I keep mine, they keep theirs. That's all fine. No one's getting wealthy off this. I mean, we're all losing money on making music for the most part, really. So, and then there's a couple, some radio stations and like Sirius XM do pay royalties. So, I might get a royalty, for songwriting credit for, someone, playing, Shake Some played my song on Sirius, it gets played on Sirius XM, and I might get a royalty there or vice versa. So
cool. This podcast will feature two of your split singles, Good Hair Day, What Happened to the Rock and Roll, and Caveman and a Rocket Ship to You. What inspired your choice of songs and the artists that you decided to collaborate with for these projects?
Oh, geez. Part of it is frequently it's someone I have some knowledge of in some form or another, or already friendly with, or we have enough friends in common, just sort of know, okay, this person, they're legit. I think I'm going to get along with them for one. And so there's sort of seeing what they're like, listening to their music. Do I like it? If they're local, can I go see them live and hear how they sound? Which, with Dave Harrison, from the False Positives, they're a Boston band, so I've seen them. Eytan, like I said, I first met in New York back in the early 80s, mid 80s actually. Arthur Alexander, I first saw when he was in the band Sorrows, like in 1980, and was blown away by them back then. Live, they were such a great band. Their album that they put out on, I can't remember what label. They had an album on a major label that got completely overproduced. And if you heard them live and then you heard the album, you'd be like, oh, geez, where did all the energy go? But live, they were just great. And, so Arthur is someone, he plays lead guitar on one of my songs. This is one of the other things on all my songs, both on the albums and the split singles. I reach out to a different lead guitar player and, ask if they'd be interested in recording on one of my songs. And more often than not, they say yes. So that's been great. So I've really been fortunate to get some amazing musicians to play on my music. So that's sort of how that works. And I'm trying to think, you asked, I think, how do I find bands? The other thing, I also have to kind of look and say, okay, are these, for instance, I was getting ready to do a split single. They said they wanted to record it the next time they were in the studio for themselves. Mm-hmm. But then the band actually broke up before they got back into the studio to record a follow-up album to the one they just put out. Uh-huh. So that project never came to fruition.
Oh, okay. Now that we've heard the stories behind the collaborations, let's take a break and enjoy the songs What Happened to the Rock and Roll and Caveman.
The kids used to dig the rock and roll, but now it's like music is in a hole. So much junk, it's what we hear. What happened to the sound we held so dear? What happened to? What happened? What happened to the rock and roll? What do you hear? What do you? What is there for us to cheer? Rock and roll's thrills, rock and roll's noise, rock and roll's girls, rock and roll's boys, rock and roll's thrills, rock and roll's noise, rock and roll's girls, rock and roll's boys. We used to go, we used to go to $5 shows in a basement or a local bar. Play that guitar. Kids love rock and roll, but what I hear now, it's got no soul. It sounds so perfect, made by a machine. Not like that rock and roll when I was 13. What happened to? What happened? What happened to the rock and roll? What do you hear? What do you? What is there for us to cheer? Rock and roll's thrills, rock and roll's noise, rock and roll's girls, rock and roll's boys, rock and roll's thrills, rock and roll's noise, rock and roll's girls, rock and roll's boys, rock and roll's thrills, rock and roll's noise, rock and roll's girls, rock and roll's boys, rock and roll's thrills, rock and roll's noise, rock and roll's girls. What happened to the rock and roll?
You just heard What Happened to the Rock and Roll, written by Rob Moss, but performed by Eytan Mirsky. It's a great example of how a song can be taken on a whole new life in someone else's hands, yet carry the same heart and message. Now let's flip it around. Here's Caveman by the False Positives, this time performed by Rob Moss.
Caveman, you're some kind of Superman. Ride a dinosaur like Genghis Khan, and wear a rockin' pair of Ray-Bans. Caveman, you laugh and survey the wasteland, post-apocalyptic, like Planet of the Apes. You're as bad as Charlton Heston, or Hail the Caveman. problems been solved. All around the nations, all the complications, world destruction or just stagnation.
While these split singles are fantastic, how have these collaborations shaped your sound and helped you grow as an artist?
Well, part of it is, here's a chance. When I write a song from scratch, it's totally blank, and I write a whole bunch. A lot get chucked because they don't really go anywhere, either lyrically or musically. But I kind of save things, and sometimes things come back. But when I find working on someone else's song and coming up with a way to make it mine, it's a different kind of process because I already have the existing song there. And of course, I'm choosing what I think are great songs to start with. So when you already start with what is a great song and then say, okay, now how can I'm not saying I'm going to make it better necessarily, but how can I give it my style different than theirs? It's a chance to, take something that's already something, terrific, put my sound to it. And like I said earlier, hearing what someone does with one of mine, it's an amazing moment when someone sends me, okay, here's our mix, here's our song, what do you think? And I get to hear someone take my song for the first time, and I hear how they've recorded it and made it their own. And it's just, like I said, it's a real kick to hear this kind of thing, as opposed, if someone took my song and they tried to play it make it sound as much as the way I did it myself, I'd be like, oh no, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear how you do it.
Right.
You take the song and do something new with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, have you gotten a lot of, feedback from the interpretations you did of the other artists from their fans?
I've heard some, yeah, definitely. And also interesting to hear people say, oh, yeah. And like, for instance, I saw someone post something just yesterday, actually. Caveman was, actually their favorite song on the False Positives album called Demos, which is a song of theirs that I chose. So, hearing that, it was great feedback. And there's been reviews like Laura Rutledge, there's been some other people writing reviews, and they've been, they totally understand what it is we're trying to do with this. So they totally get it. So reading that has been very favorable.
Awesome. How do life experiences, whether personal or global, shape your songwriting and creative process?
They definitely do to some degree. And sometimes it's obvious and sometimes maybe less so, where I'll write something in such a way and I know about half the people are going to think I mean something totally different than what it is. And I just, have to realize, just let it go. I'm not going to change anyone's mind about things with a song, is my opinion. But yeah, you're definitely inspired by, events going around you, whether it is global or personal. And all of that seeps into songwriting, most certainly.
Yeah, I'm sure over the years you've heard some pretty different interpretations of what your songs are supposed to be about, as opposed to what you actually meant when you wrote it.
Yeah, that certainly comes out, and there's no point in trying to tell people, that's not what you meant, because they'll never believe it.
It's true though. Like, I talk to so many artists and they tell me, you know, when they write a song, it's like amazing, like how many people interpret it a different way.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Sure.
it's like, that's not what I wrote that song about, but it's like, you know, if that's what makes them happy to think that, and they really love the song, that's all that matters. Right.
Oh yeah. You know, people get really, sort of, they look at the songs, they sort of, they only know so little. It's like all they hear is the song itself, and they have no idea what went into it. I mean, similarly, I remember the last album I put out was, you know, I do all my own. You know, I don't have a PR firm. I don't, you know, so I send out to record reviewers and things like that. And I sent one to this one website that does record reviews, album reviews, and I got this email back from the publisher. Just tearing into me, she went through all of my discography of like all the stuff I released, and she's looking at all of because I have a different lead guitarist on every song, so there's a lot of people playing on my music. And she says, "Why don't I see a single woman on your songs?"
Oh God.
And I said, I would actually like to have that. In fact, I'm going to send you screenshots of emails and social media, you know, direct messaging of all the female musicians I've contacted over the years to play on my songs, either as lead guitarists. Although I did have, there's been some that have played, you know, more recently on the last album on records. We did a duet there with Jen D'Angora from Shanghai Lows. And Martha Hall also I did a duet with on, you know, another album.
Right.
But she got so into me, like, you know, why are there no women playing on your, you know, on the lead guitarist? And I'm like, look, here's all the list of all these people I've contacted.
Right.
They've all said no, they're not interested. It's not for lack of trying. So,
right.
But like I said, you know, people all they know is like sort of what they see and what they hear, and they have no idea what actually went into make the song or make the album or the recording.
How do you decide when a song is finished and ready to share with your listeners?
You just know when it is. I mean, Tom McNally has been my collaborator since the last album. He heard my first album because Nels Cline played on one of my songs. He played the guitar, and Tom was really into Nels Cline, and we became friends after that. And at one point, he had offered to, you know, take part in any future recordings. And when I recorded Records, that album, the guy who had been playing bass on my stuff, he was in 2 different bands at the time. He runs a business. He just didn't have time. So I said, Tom, are you interested in playing bass? So he did, and then we collaborated on this sort of new wave inspired project we called Robotom LTD. And then since then, all the split singles, Tom's been playing bass and, you know, keyboards and other things, and you know, also doing some backing vocals, and he's been mixing them all as well, which has been great. So we go through a number of back and forths on the mix, doing a lot of things in terms of, you know, panning of the instruments, you know, what needs to be pushed a little more to the right or to the left, you know, bringing up, you know, hand percussion, you know, really we finesse and do things like that. So, yeah.
Nice. Can you share any details about an upcoming album or future projects? What can your fans look forward to next?
I would love to be able to do that, but I'm hesitant, only because there's so many moving pieces. So I don't know when they'll be exactly finished and ready to go. And like I said, you know, there was that, you know, one band, they were in Europe, and, you know, I had actually already started, you know, I didn't start really recording the song, but I started learning their song and figuring out how would I play it differently. And then they said, hey, you know, we got to let you know we're broken up, so we're not going to be able to do this with a single after all. But Tom and I are pretty close to getting basic tracks finished on another one. And this other band, I know they've been playing a lot of live shows lately, but I know they've also been in the studio. And so I don't know where they are. I want to give them some room. I don't want to like saying, hey, where are you guys with the thing? Because this is all has to be fun. If it becomes, pressure or appeal, you don't want it to become like that. So at some point soon, I'll check in with them and see where they're at. But at this point, I'd rather not mention it until it's definitely ready to go.
Do you plan on doing like a full-length release of all the split singles that you've recorded over the last couple, the year and a half or so?
I've thought about looking into how to do that. It's it might become more complicated, releasing it that way. But one thing I have done is on Bandcamp, because you can do playlists. I've made like a playlist that has all the split singles back to back with the original. So you hear the split single, you hear the original version, then you hear, what was on like, the A side or B side, or I'll call it the A side and the one side. Then you hear the other one and so forth till they're all through. So it's like more than an hour's worth of material at this point. But I don't think I would release it as like a CD or as a finished album. It's like the split singles are their own thing.
What about a split single 45?
You mean doing it on vinyl?
Yeah. That would be pretty cool though. Like to do one.
It is, but I mean, there were so many record pressing companies back in the early 80s. So doing vinyl was affordable, and you didn't have these really long, like right now, if you want to get an album pressed, or I don't know about a 7-inch, you can wait sometimes like a year.
Wow. For
your album to get pressed because they're so backed up with orders. And then you get some of these major, there's so few pressing companies, so you're going to the same ones that the major labels are doing. And then suddenly some big star, I won't mention her name, decides to release, 5 different versions of the same album in different formats with different covers and, different mixes or different song sequences or whatever she does. And they get bumped to the head of the line. So it's putting out vinyl. There's the time frame, plus there's a huge upfront expense. So that is an issue. It wasn't so much, early back in, like I said, years ago, it would have been great. Now, a lot of people more people are buying vinyl because suddenly they've taken an interest in it. And some people won't buy CDs anymore, or they do. And then a lot of people they listen to music on their phone through their earbuds or in their car, or they stream or what have you. I did try Spotify as a test with the second to last album I put out, and found, it didn't, it got streams, it got listens, but in tracking, is it leading into people then buying the CD or buying the digital download version? And really the answer was no. And in terms of what Spotify compensates artists, I decided, okay, I tried the experiment, and the experiment was a failure. So I am not doing any more streaming sites like Spotify at this point. So that's where I am with that. So pretty much Bandcamp is really the only place that my music is available through.
Nice. How do you personally define success in your music career, and do you feel you have achieved it?
Because the last, touring band that I was in was 1983 when I was playing a Government Issue. And after that, I was in that band. I didn't expect to be making music ever again. And, that was my feeling, and I was kind of resigned to it. So that's something I did. I had a great time writing songs, recording, going on tour. But it was sort of like that was a moment in my life.
Right. And
so everything I'm doing now is a complete bonus. I never would have expected to have put out, 3 albums now and all these split singles. And, to have, people like Nels Cline or, Bob Derwood Andrews, and others, play on my songs, that's been just incredible. So for me, that is success. And to hear people say that they enjoy my music. Financially, as a success, no, of course not. but I'm not doing it for that at this point.
No, I mean, you're doing it more for yourself. You enjoy it, right? It's something,
Sure.
It's like a release to get away from the everyday grind, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a blast. It's great fun, writing songs and recording and putting out and hearing people's reaction to it and, seeing what people think of it. So, it's great.
Using your brain and being creative is very healthy for your mental health.
Sure. And, picking up a guitar and playing, figuring out someone else's song, or just writing new songs, all of that is, great way to, keep your brain cells stimulated and, in a healthy way.
Absolutely. Do you have a website or social media links that you'd like to share with us?
I do have Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, Bandcamp is really the thing that is, for me, the most important way for people to reach my music. I have people can follow me there and, get notifications of new releases. They can listen to my music there, of course, and they can purchase my music there, whether it's CD or digital download. So if they go to bandcamp.com and just in the search box, type in Rob Moss and, hit that, you'll see Rob Moss and Skin Tight Skin come up, and that's an easy way to get to my music. Of course, they can also search for, Rob Moss and Skin Tight Skin on both Facebook and Instagram. I think I had a Twitter or X account. I haven't logged into that in a long time, mainly because it's just a time suck. In fact, if I do any social media, it's more often for me on Facebook. Instagram, even that is something that I kind of is on its back burner. It takes me a while to get to it, to post anything or to respond to it. I've not gone to Blue Sky or some of these other ones because it's just, I'd rather be listening to music and writing new music and recording new music than getting involved in yet another social media account. So that's where I am with that.
Cool. Finally, is there anything you'd like to mention that we didn't talk about today?
God, we really covered so much, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to do that. I mean, the whole idea, the split single thing wasn't something that I originally intended to do. And, Jesse and Karen at Shake Some, I really owe them a lot because, they're the ones that kind of originally was just an idea of, hey, because recording one of my songs, but then when they said, well, let you do one of ours, that really turned into something, and we've really run with it. 5 releases now, 5 more split singles, and a 6th one is on the way. And I'm talking to a number of different bands and musicians about doing more. So there's definitely going to be more. And it really kind of, to me, it's like, because I remember listening so much. Deep Purple was one of my favorite bands as a kid, and the first 2 albums. Shades of Deep Purple and the Book of Taliesin, Deep Purple is doing, a cover of Kentucky Woman, the Neil Diamond song,
right?
Or Hush, Billy Joe Royal. It really was so cool to hear, or Help, that, they did the Beatles song. Hearing how another band would take someone's song, but not do it note for note, really make it, it's like taking the familiar and turning it into the unexpected. That to me there's something almost more satisfying than hearing, just an original in a way, because you're taking something that, I know this song, as opposed to a brand new song, which is great. Writing songs is great, and everyone should keep writing songs.
Right.
I will continue to write songs. But to take a song that you've heard before and you've heard it so many times, but to now hear it in a new way,
right? It
really does something. Because the brain is you even know, okay, there's going to be a cowbell on something, or the chorus is going to start this way, or one of the things like Eytan, when he did my song, he swapped the order of some of the words so you hear it in this different way, and of course he turned the song into a soul song. It really makes something when it's like the familiar and the unexpected. It is, it's like chocolate in my peanut butter.
Right.
It's such a great combination to hear something this way that to me, I'm going to keep doing these at least for a while. I really enjoy it, and I hope people do too.
I think they will. It's a great concept. Like, covering somebody's song is one thing, but then to have the artist that you're covering do one of yours, and you share it together, I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Rob, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, man. It's always great catching up with you,
I really appreciate it.
And anytime you got something else you want to promote, I'd love to have you back on.
Thanks. I'll keep it. I'll let you know, most certainly.
When is the next one coming out?
You already tried. I can't tell you. I don't know.
Okay.
Right now at this point, I just have basic tracks recorded on our version of another band's song. We don't have lead guitar in yet, and I don't know where they are on their version of our song. I know what song they're going to do. These two songs, actually, when you hear them, there is a great combination. But I won't give it away. But when people hear it, I think it's going to be, we're taking it to a whole nother level with this one. I know that's a cliche, but when you see the release, you go, oh, I know what Rob meant.
Right.
So
you got my number. Let's stay in touch, man. I'd love to hear about that one when it comes out. I'd love to have you back on.
Terrific. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome, buddy. And you enjoy the rest of your day, all right?
You too.
All right.
Good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to Rob for stopping by and giving us his inside scoop on his split singles and the stories that inspired them. Before we sign off, let's spin the false positives take on Rob's track, A Rocket Ship to You.
I'm on a rocket ship to you. You're a million miles away, and I gotta get back to you. You may think I've gone astray. If I don't get home soon, they won't turn out the sun. I missed your Milky Way. It won't be any fun if I don't get home soon. Hey, I'm on a rocket ship to you. The moonshine. I'm on a rocket ship to you. You're a trillion miles away, and I gotta get back to you. You may think I've gone astray. If I don't get home soon, they won't turn out the sun. I missed your Milky Way. It won't be any fun if I don't get home soon. Hey, I'm on a rocket ship to you. I'm on a rocket ship to you.
The Record Machine Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Hall Productions. All rights reserved. For distribution information or to add this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.